In this video, we're going to show you how to install gauge cluster bulbs on your Jeep Wrangler located inside the gauge cluster on your dash. Now on top of your dash here, there's going to be this vent panel that runs all the way across right behind the windshield. We can use a trim tool. We want to try and get underneath here, and we're going to pry this up, and we're going to dislodge the little spring clips, work our way right across. Once you get up so far, you don't need the tool anymore. Just lift that up, set that aside. Now inside the vehicle here, we have our lower knee board, and there are going to be two screws here. Use your Phillips head screwdriver to loosen and remove these screws. Go ahead and grab this here. I'm going to pull this out. Now, in order to remove the screws holding our dash trim or cluster trim, we're on the outside of the windshield looking in, and there is a screw right here. There's a screw right here, and then there's a third screw over here. So we're going to go to the inside of the vehicle, and we're going to use a stubby screwdriver to go ahead and loosen and remove those three screws. We're going to use our stubby screwdriver, and the reason why we're using the stubby screwdriver is that if you try to use a taller one, it's going to hit the windshield. I try not to drop these, otherwise they're going to go down into the dash, and you might have to try and chase those there. All right, so now we have the three out of the top side of the cluster bezel. On the lower left-hand corner of our cluster bezel here, there's another screw. Use your Phillips head screwdriver. And once you have that one out, there's one on the right side. And once you have that out, we should be able to grab, well, we're going to tilt down our steering wheel and grab our trim bezel and pop that up and out. Once we have that out, that's going to give us access to the hardware securing the cluster in the dash. We're going to go ahead and pluck out this whole unit. Our dash cluster itself has four screws holding it in place. There is one right here, and there's one down here. And they're in the same exact spot on the left-hand side of the cluster. We're going to go ahead and use our Phillips head screwdriver. Using our stubby screwdriver, gets in there nice and easy. And we'll do the same for the other side. Let's go ahead and pull the cluster straight out. And by pulling that straight out, you're disconnecting the connectors or the plugs on the back side. On the dash, it's a fixed plug, so there's no harness that is loose or dangling. Let's go ahead and take our dash cluster over to the bench and replace those bulbs. And we have our gauge cluster out on our bench. You want to make sure you have a towel or some sort of soft, clean cloth set out, because we're going to be flipping our gauge cluster over on the face, and you don't want to scratch that up. Now on the back side here, there's going to be a series of cluster bulbs. We have the gray ones and black ones through certain areas around the back side here. Now on the back side of your cluster, you have a series of bulbs here. We have gray bulbs and we have the black bulbs. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the gray ones here, but the process for the gray is the same as the black. Going to use some small needle nose pliers. Gently going to grab the back side and you're going to twist it counterclockwise and then remove it. Now there's just two little tabs on here that lock it into place. You can take one of the new bulbs and make sure that you don't handle these with bare fingers, because the oils on your fingers can actually damage the bulbs. Just gently grab it with the pliers. Identify the two little tabs. You're going to line it up with the holes in the back of the circuit board, and then twist clockwise. And it just clicks in. That's it. You want to go ahead and repeat this process for any of the other bulbs that need replacement. With our bulbs replaced, go ahead and line up the dash cluster here. You can feel it kind of, if you move that back and forth, it'll drop right into those connectors. Push that in. You'll know that both connectors are in because your mounting tabs for the cluster will be flush on the dash frame. Go ahead and install your 4 screws that hold that in place. And just snug down those screws. We're just securing the plastic gauge cluster in place, so it doesn't have to be super tight, but you do want to make sure it's secure and not going to rattle around. With the gauge cluster in, grab your trim bezel, drop that down into place. Now on the top side, where our 3 screws go, there's 3 pins that stick up that line up with this here. So that'll help you line up these screw ports. Now there's 5 screws for this here. Let's go ahead and get all of these started. We're not going to tighten them down yet. We just want to get all of these started. Once they're all started, a few threads, we'll come on back and tighten them all down. I can get these started by hand. Just drop those in and twist them in. And then we'll put in the lower right-hand side here. And let's go ahead and snug these down. Now we are coming in contact with the windshield. You're going to have some smudges, whatever, from your hands or your gloves. Probably want to go ahead and clean up that windshield once you're all done with this job. And then we'll finish up with this lower screw here. All right, at this point, our gauge cluster bezel is on. Let's go ahead and go to the bottom knee board here, or knee pedal, and get that installed. Install our lower hinges. Swing this up. Work this up around the ignition switch itself, and then push the left side up. That's going to go up around the headlight knob. And bring our steering wheel down a little bit. Once this is installed, we can install the screws. And repeat for the other side. With the bottom of the dash completed, let's go ahead and install the upper vent trim. Go ahead and grab your center panel here for the dash. It's going to be metal spring clips across here. Just pretty much line those up into the corresponding slots and just push it down into place. Once that's all snapped in, you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.